Thanks, and thanks for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be with economists and sharing my views. The Eastern Mediterranean has certainly been affected by the pandemic's impact on prices. There are other, of course, more qualified members of this panel who have already talked about this issue. So I will focus on the Eastern Mediterranean's importance from a European perspective, which is already kind of waning for three main reasons. First, it's uncompetitive prices compared to the current rates at which the EU buys gas. Of course, prices are expected to rise from 2022 to 2025 due to a supply gap, due to the increased demand expected in Asia, and until the new projects go into operation. So there will be a brief window of opportunity, but in the long term, prices will be about what they are right now. So time is not on the side of the region's producers, as has already been said. Second, the relatively limited deposits, although the quantities are adequate to supply, for example, the East Med and other projects. In fact, I would say that based on the existing finds, and I stress existing, the region could send the European market around 20 BCM for a period of 20 to 25 years, which might not make much of a difference with regard to Russia, but it can be added to the sources supplying the European Union. After all, Azerbaijan will be supplying similar quantities at its peak. But the main reason is the European target of cutting CO2 emissions by 55% by 2030 and attaining zero emissions in 2050. And these two goals will lead to a constant fall in European demand for natural gas. And there are EU studies which project that demand will fall by about 25% by 2030 and by about 80% by 2050. Therefore, the EU has started to cut back on its investments in fossil fuels, including...
I think you may have frozen. Can anybody else hear Constantinos? No.
Oh.
Try. Constantinos, we can't hear you anymore. You seem to have frozen. If you can hear us.
I apologize. There was a technical failure. Just two words on my behalf. I was referring to the European Ombudsman, which launched an inquiry into the inclusion of the IGB and the East Med in the PCIs, the projects of common interest, given that these projects concern hydrocarbons. So this is highly indicating of the situation as I described it before. And before I conclude, an observation with which I suppose we all agree is that in the long term, and bearing, of course, unforeseen developments, we will see stabilization of demand for and penetration, of course, of renewables and hydrogen, with natural gases share remaining stable. But at the same time, we have new sources entering the market from Australia and North America. And these, of course, are going to be competitive for the Eastern Mediterranean overall as well. So that's it for me. Thanks. And again, apologies for the technical failure.
No, thank you very much.